The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, coming to you from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free, 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. X Zone Nation, my guest this hour is no stranger to you, the members of the X Zone Nation. Dr. William Schneid is here with us to talk about the recently discovered tunnel from Mexico into the United States. But before we get to that, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Dr. Schneid. Dr. Schneid's been actively involved in the field of law enforcement for over 40 years now, and his duties included Internal Affairs, Narcotics Task Force, as well as patrol and investigative duties. In fact, one show we actually did a ride-along with Dr. Schneid, and that was one heck of a great show. Dr. Schneid has taught at the Rio Hondo Regional Police Academy on officer survival and ethics. He has been consulted with and assigned to various federal agencies and task force during the past 40 years. He's been routinely appointed by Los Angeles County Superior and municipal court judges as an expert in alternative sentencing and narcotics. Bill is regarded as a professional seeker of truth and holds no bias to either the defense nor the prosecution because he's been called upon by both sides with his expertise. Dr. Schneid is the recipient of the Law Enforcement Medal of Honor and the Medal for Valor. Right now, he's a licensed private investigator in the state of California. He is certified by the State of California Peace Officer Standards and Training Bureau through supervisory level. Dr. Schneid received his Ph.D. in 1994 with dual majors of criminology and psychology, graduating summa cum laude in his bachelor's, master's, and Ph.D. year. He has testified in court as an expert in narcotics in the penal system and alternative sentencing. And listen to this. He is credited with over 3,500 arrests during his career in law enforcement. And he's testified as an expert in excess of 300 cases. He is an authority on negligent hiring prevention and is an expert in profiling, threat assessment, risk analysis, and terrorism. Dr. Schneid is currently the Director of Special Operations for Apex Strategic Investigations Group, a licensed international private investigation firm in Los Angeles and Riverside counties. Now listen to this. I'm just going to read a few of these because, it would take us nearly half the show to read all of the organization memberships and affiliations that Dr. Schneid is with or has been with. World Association of Detectives, California Robbery Association, California Narcotic Officers Association, Southern California Fraud Investigators Association, and the list goes on. And here are the commendations, which are very important to any member of law enforcement. Law Enforcement Medal of Honor, Law Enforcement Medal of Valor, Federal Bureau of Investigation for exceptional service, Department of the Air Force for exceptional service, Department of Defense Missile Defense Organization for exceptional service, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms for exceptional service, and Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department for exceptional service, and these are just few of them. Dr. William Schneid is my very special guest this hour here in the X Zone. Now, if you're looking for a private investigation firm that reaches right around the world, that is professional, highly qualified, very affordable, and they work with you, whether it's a criminal case, a commercial case, an institutional case, maybe it's for background checks on employees, maybe it's to do an insurance investigation, whatever the case may be, contact the detectives, the investigators, or Bill Schneid at Apex Strategic Investigations Group. Their website is www.worldfind.biz. That's www.worldfind.biz. Exonation, I'm back on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break with Dr. William Schneid as the Exxon continues from our bureau, our studio, our offices in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away. Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine like hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits, and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining room can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you're visiting, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, old Florida cuisine at its best. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone broadcast network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
This is Johanna Carroll, host of Dialogue with Divinity on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. While walking along Kaanapali Beach in Maui this past year, I kept discovering all these shells and coral in the shape of hearts. My dialogue with Divinity was very simple. Do you want me to do a retreat to heal people's hearts in Maui next year? And of course, the answer was yes. As a master spiritual teacher, I am offering you a neat retreat called Rise, May 8th through the 12th, 2017, and the chance of a lifetime to rest at a 5-star resort for 5 days and experience a spiritual renewal of your heart and soul. Kaanapali is one of the top 5 beaches in the world. This stunning resort has undergone a $40 million renovation. I walked the entire property, checked out the room choices on your behalf, and I must say it is stunning. Our conference room faces the ocean with sliding glass doors. Maui is known as Mother Maui because it is a soft, gentle, healing energy. In the embrace of Mother Maui, you will feel yourself rising from the limitations of an ordinary life to an extraordinary journey of peace, bliss, and harmony. A greater sense of clarity. Our Rise retreat ignites renewal in the sacred elements of air, water, earth, fire, and wind. There's plenty of free time to enjoy all that Maui has to offer. A small deposit is required now to reserve your space, as this retreat, it will sell out. For more details, please go to johannacarroll.com and register today. Aloha, and I'll see you in mystical Maui.
Welcome back, everyone. Dr. William Schneid is my special guest, a former law enforcement officer in California. He is now the Director of Special Operations for Apex Strategic Investigations Group, and they are in Los Angeles and Riverside counties. Their website is www.worldfind.biz. And Bill, welcome back to the X Zone. It's always great having you with us, my friend. How are you doing?
Fine. It's a pleasure always being there.
Bill, there was a media advisory that was issued by the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration the other day, and it says discovery of major smuggling tunnel south of Yuma to be announced. And this apparently is the first known completed and fully operational tunnel ever uncovered in the area. And apparently, the Mexican Army found another tunnel today that hasn't been completed. How have they been able to get away with this without notice by the U.S. authorities?
Well, the first tunnel is 240 yards long, and basically beginning from a one-story nondescript building to an ice plant in Colorado. In San Luis Rio, Colorado, in Mexico. So that tunnel was fully functional, lighting, air circulation, etc. The other tunnel that wasn't completed was 220 yards, and that was found in Tijuana. And likewise had both passages had lighting and ventilation. These tunnels take anywhere from 6 months to a year to create, and the laborers usually stay in the building that they're working out of. And labor in Mexico, as you well know, is cheap.
Yeah.
And so the labor force is huge. People who work know that they're working for cartels, and they know that if anything was mentioned as to what they were doing, they would be dead along with the 50,000 other people that have been killed in the process of these cartels' operation. So it's easy to construct when you have the labor force and you have the time and obviously an endless supply of funds and motivation.
Now, Bill, it's just not the borders between the United States and Mexico where smuggling tunnels have been found. You sent us an article today where between the United States and Canada, there's also been drug smuggling tunnels made. And I believe as early as 2005, a group of Canadian drug smugglers took up the idea and constructed a tunnel between a greenhouse in Langley, British Columbia, and the basement of a house in Lyndon, Washington.
Well, the singular advantage, obviously, is that you're avoiding the authorities, and secondly, you can move vast quantities virtually 24 hours a day. So you're talking about tonnage,
right?
As opposed to strapping some pot onto somebody's waist or cocaine in a spare tire. The ability to move tonnage is really the key word here, and as long as there's this seemingly endless demand for drugs in the United States, obviously these cartels have the sufficient motivation to continue to construct methods or develop methods to get the product in here.
1-800-610-7035, worldwide toll-free. Dr. William Schneid is our special guest. And this part of the X Zone with Dr. Schneid, we're talking about tunnels. Are these sophisticated tunnels? Like tunneling was used in the throughout history, Bill. We know of tunnels that were used to smuggle slaves out of the United States. In fact, Bill, I don't know if you're aware of this, but when I was at 610 CKTB in St. Catharines, that was the very end of the Underground Railroad that brought slaves from the United States to Canada. There were tunnels that led actually from the basement of CKTB to the river base that was down a slope, and this is where the slaves would actually be smuggled in, from the different venues and the different craft that would be used in the rivers, and they'd come up the tunnels into the old Merit House. So we're not looking at anything new, and apparently it's been an effective way to keep out of the radar or keep off the radar of the authorities for many years.
Well, certainly during Vietnam, the Viet Cong had literally cities underground, and were able to, suddenly come up from nowhere and engage our troops. So, matter of fact, we had small people in the military known as tunnel rats that would go in these small tunnels and try to ferret out where these people were and use high explosives to destroy them. But it was literally like an ant farm of people all underground. So, you're correct. Tunnels are nothing new. Obviously, the danger is inherent in building these things. The danger of collapse, just as it would be in a normal mining operation. So as the tunnel proceeds, it's being shored up, usually with vertical plywood and some horizontal beams, to make sure that the earth above doesn't come collapsing, into the tunnel. So it is an engineering job. It's not just something just dig and put it through. Plus, you need to have sufficient ventilation, so you have to be supporting it with electricity, obviously, and by being based within a building or a commercial building, you have that source. I mean, we saw that, in various war movies.
Sure, the Great Escape.
Prisoner of war camps by tunneling. As you pointed out, this is nothing new. This is simply being used for nefarious purposes, but the technology today that we have to detect it, various sonar methods, we have extremely sensitive microphones placed strategically along the border that listens for digging operations. So we're kind of light years ahead of where we were years ago in being able to detect these things.
Yeah, the one more movie that comes to mind is The Great Escape, and that I think is going back to 1963, where let me see, the Allied prisoners of war from a German POW camp, we're trying to escape, and let's see, Steve McQueen, James Garner, we're just a couple of the actors in this show, and I am led to believe that it was closely done with prisoners of war who were actually involved in this Great Escape.
Yeah, I mean, this was, of course, before my time. I'm glad that you recall all this.
Thanks, friend.
You've now passed the current Alzheimer test, so there is some levity to this stuff. But I think with the fact that we have radar going along the border, that we've stepped up our border checkpoints, has simply made this thing more difficult. And, I think, I don't remember over what period of time, but I think so far, I have to scratch my head for recollection, but since the U.S. has really gone after these tunnels, there's been about 70 tunnels found since 2008.
Wow.
Which surpasses the number of discoveries in the previous 6 years. So, this is just in a couple of tunnels linking San Diego and Tijuana in 2009. They popped 52 tons of marijuana out of that tunnel. So you can see the profit in 52 tons is fairly mind-boggling.
It's ironic because not only are marijuana grows showing up with the Mexican cartel in Mexico, but also now in the national forests in Wyoming and Montana, are grow operations being found within the heart of national forests, which are being maintained by the cartel.
Well, I think a underlying threat as well. Keep in mind of moving drugs is moving people. So you can't tell me that terrorists bent on creating havoc in the United States don't have potential access to these tunnels as well.
Right.
So the ability for not only illicit goods to get in, but less than desirable folks to get in as well, presents even a secondary but potentially greater problem.
Bill, you and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Please stand by, my friend. Exonation Dr. William Schneid is our special guest. Bill is the Director of Special Operations for Apex Strategic Investigations Group, a licensed international private investigations group that is in Los Angeles and Riverside counties. For more information, visit their website at www.worldfind.biz. That's www.worldfind.biz. And the good doctor and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as the X Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. By the way, Monday, we have a guest coming on who's going to tell us about the connection between the Shriners and human trafficking. I'm not kidding. This is no joke. There are lawsuits pending in the Supreme Court. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Toll free worldwide, 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. My guest this hour is the one and only Dr. William Schneid, and we talked in the first half hour, or the first half of this segment, about the tunnels, the drug tunnels. But as everyone knows, the Summer Olympics are going to be in London, England this summer. And today on CNN there was just a small article or a small mention about a group of Londoners who are rather upset because the British military wants to and has been granted access by the highest court in London to put radar-guided missile units on the top of their apartment buildings and their commercial buildings. And this is because, according to British military officials, this is to complement the other radar systems that are working, and these radar units with radar-guided missiles are going to be used as a complement to the existing radar unit to track lower altitude and other type of ordnance that the other type of radar, for lack of better words, cannot get. So Bill, what As a security expert, do you think the major threat of anything happening in the London games will come from? Are these missile batteries that they're putting on the roof of these buildings a deterrent, or are they there for a specific cause?
Well, first you have to recognize that items like that that are going to be publicly announced are being used as a deterrent. You're not being told everything that's going to be put in place. But if you think for a second, you take the world's premier athletic spectacle, then place events at 100 venues across the UK, and finally scatter tens of thousands of athletes, coaches, spectators, and vendors to those sites. I mean, what you get is obviously the Olympics, but you also get what security people and would-be terrorists see as the definition of a target-rich environment. So the massive security that's being put into place by the UK is they just added 3,500 military troops to what will be a 27,000-person Olympic security detail. So you've got 17,000 British troops deployed around the UK during the Games. It's probably the largest deployment of British troops on British soil since World War II.
Wow.
So it's just an enormous amount of security that's there to make sure that that anything that can happen doesn't.
Yeah,
but it's a security nightmare because everything is scattered all over the countryside.
But Bill, people are probably saying, well, look what happened in Canada during the Winter Olympics. There was nothing. So why is it so different when they're having the Summer Olympics in the United Kingdom?
Well, because, one, it's Europe. So access to the UK is a lot different than access to Canada. The political climate that surrounds the UK is very different. Canada has the United States to its south. It's got nothing to its north, and some Aleutian Islands out there. So, I mean, the accessibility and the ability to track is much more difficult. I mean, just think of the UK and its ongoing, up to now, war with the IRA. I mean, this has been going on for years and years and years until the Queen just shook his hand. But, I mean, this has been acts of terrorism endlessly. And so if you have that right in your back door, now think of all of these Islamic kooks out there that, knowing that the UK is going to be the host of the Olympics, had 4 years to infiltrate and be embedded within the UK. I mean, I don't think these people are going to suddenly, appear through a Mexican drug tunnel underneath the ocean in a matter of a couple of days. So the ones that need to be there are already there. The sleeper agents that are going to do anything are already there. So it's going to be one of those breath-holding period of a couple of weeks, hoping that nothing disastrous happens. But you remember the London attack on the buses, and I mean, London is just ripe for this type of activity.
All right, so when we're looking at London and we're looking at the high security profile that is being, I guess, cast throughout the country, this must be an intelligence nightmare.
Well, it's an intelligence nightmare, but at the same time, remember, the UK has always been known for its intelligence abilities, and rest assured that the United States is in bed with M6 and all their intelligence agencies. We already have federal agencies that are embedded within our embassy in the UK that have been gathering intelligence for the past several years. So the sharing of intelligence between the allies, specifically the UK and the US, has been intense, and it continues to intensify as we get close to the launch of the games.
Bill, what would be the role in this case of organizations such as Interpol? Would they be heavily involved in the intelligence gathering, or is the intelligence gathering left to agencies like MI5, MI6? Let me see, the CIA, I'm sure, is very involved in all of this information because they have a network right around the world. What agencies would be? Now, I'm asking you without breaking any security matters, because I know that you're still heavily involved in the world of crime fighting. But which agencies would be involved that you can tell us about?
Well, you could just about imagine any federal agency within the United States with 3 or 4 initials in their names are no doubt involved at one level or another.
So this is a massive undertaking. And where would national security, the NSA, fall into play here?
Again, you have one of the premier agencies with listening abilities that are global. We have satellites that are doing their thing. We have drones that are in the air. Every method that you can think of gathering intelligence goes on. I mean, millions of cell phone towers are monitored. I mean, you have the sheer staggering numbers that our computers are processing data at is enough to make you shudder on what's ability. Now, remember, the CIA is limited to operations outside the United States, which makes the UK very convenient. So, you can rest assured that the NSA, the NRO, the CIA are heavily involved in using all their intelligence resources and assets to gather the kind of information they need to thwart any kind of a plan that's going to disrupt these games. And certainly, selfishly, looking out for the United States team as well. And don't think for a second that the Mossad from Israel isn't involved equally. They're not going to see a repeat of Munich.
No, and just remind our listeners about that, Bill, because many of our listeners were so young or not even born when the Munich Olympic hostage taking took place. Could you take us back through memory lane?
Well, basically, the entire Israeli team was assassinated in their barracks where they were sleeping by terrorists that were holding them hostage and ultimately killed them. As a result of that, Golda Meir, the then Prime Minister of Israel, put out a secret order to the Mossad that they were to hunt down and execute everybody involved in that plot and plan. And over the next few years, they in fact did that, and everyone that was involved was executed in whatever country they were hiding. And there is, of course, a movie that was made out of that called Munich, which takes you back to that point in time. But that was probably one of the more horrific moments of Olympic history.
1-800-610-7035, worldwide toll free. My guest this hour is Dr. William Schneid, a good friend of the X Zone and a close and dear personal friend of mine. X Zone Nation, if you need an investigation firm that reaches right around the world, and I'm talking about a firm that has, let me see, I was a cop many years ago, X Zone Nation, and there's a lot of companies that call themselves investigation firms, investigation agencies, but there are very, very, very few that come with the qualifications, the professionalism, and the credentials that the people at Apex Strategic Investigations Group do. And that's where Dr. Schneid is based out of. He is the Director of Special Operations for Apex Strategic Investigations. If you need an investigation firm, whether it's for a civil matter, criminal matter, institutional matter, whether you want a background check done on someone, if you want somebody found, whatever the case may be, they're professional, they're highly dedicated, and all you have to do is go to one very simple website, www.worldfind.com. The only reason I promote Dr. Schneid is because, number one, I know him. Number two, he's professional. Number three, he is a highly decorated law enforcement officer, Law Enforcement Medal of Honor, Law Enforcement Medal of Valor, FBI Medal for Exceptional Service, and the list goes on and on and on. One website, one call, that's all you need to make is www.worldfind.biz. Bill, I'd like to talk to you about something here, Bill. I know that this is something that you and I have discussed off-air. Human trafficking, it's a big thing. You know, it's coming to the light thanks to people like Lucia Mann, who is another friend of ours. But I came across some information, and in fact, I've got a guest coming on the show this Monday who's going to talk about the shocking Shriners human trafficking connection. Now, listen to this, Bill. As stories in mysterious fraternal organizations known for its fundraising efforts on behalf of burned children and crippled children, the Shriners boast an international membership in the hundreds of thousands, including luminaries such as Gerald R. Ford, Buzz Aldrin, the astronaut, and John Wayne. However, recent changes have already landed several of their esteemed members in prison. With the help of our guest who's coming on the X-Zone this coming Monday, who has researched and helped piece together the elements of an affidavit that identified and accused several key members of human trafficking and linked those members to a nationwide ring of corruption, exposing of human trafficking and slavery exonation. In this sensational case, through the years, it's been taken years to bring the case to where it is now. It is poised to make national headlines as the Supreme Court considers it for the docket. Now, what we're going to be talking about on Monday is the threats, retaliation, judicial corruption, tax evasion, and human trafficking, plus everything about the civil cases against the Shriners now pending in court, the story behind the investigation that linked the Royal Order of Jesters, a formerly secret branch of the well-respected Shriners, to a nationwide crime ring. We're also going to be talking about the legalities and loopholes that people in power use and abuse. That you yourself.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
18th Sergeant Central. 19th Sergeant check. Officers on the scene.
Hi, I'm Larry Lawson, host of Paranormal Stakeout. With over 36 years in law enforcement, I have learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, how we gather the evidence, preserve that evidence, and present it to a jury of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Join me, Larry Lawson, every week on Paranormal Stakeout when, along with my guests, we'll take a journey to prove with indisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Go to xzbn.net for the broadcast schedule and check me out at paranormalstakeout.com.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, Soul Balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A Soul Balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today. www.soulbalancing.world.
All right, Exonation, Dr. William Schneid is my guest this hour, www.worldfind.biz. Bill, during the commercial break, you were telling me that cities are going bankrupt.
Well, indeed. We have several cities across the United States, some very large cities as well as some small cities that have found themselves upside down with their between their pensions that they have to support for retirees, as well as just the lack of income coming from taxes, etc., are actually going to court to file bankruptcy, which up to this point has been unheard of. And I think we have 4 or 5 cities now across the country, which may be the beginning of an epidemic of this, as these cities find themselves behind the 8 ball. Jobs that once were considered secure, such as law enforcement, fire, etc., protective services, people are being let go. I think there was a city in New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken, where the mayor reduced the salary of the fire department to minimum wage.
Wow.
And they're going to court to fight that, because obviously they're protected by a contract. But if the city has no money, how do they get paid?
Exactly.
So, this isn't something that happened overnight. I think we're finding, certain levels of malfeasance, a lack of accountability, poor money management in a lot of cities across the nation, as the media starts poking and prodding into mishandling of taxpayer funds. So I think this is going to be, a show that we deal with the entire aspects of municipal corruption.
Bill, as we get closer to the London Olympics, of course, you and I are going to be talking here on air. It's always great talking to you, Bill. I know that you've got your finger on the pulse of the criminal and the intelligence world, and I also understand and respect the fact, Bill, that there are certain things we can talk about and there are certain things we cannot talk about. I just want you to know how much I appreciate you being here, as well as I appreciate your friendship, Bill. You God bless you. You've done so much in your years. When you look forward, Bill, we've got about a minute left, Bill. How do you see the role of the police officer in society?
Well, I think it'll become more militaristic as our society continues to be more disengaged. And as long as our society continues to be a society of entitlement, and unemployment continues to be what it is, and the lack of respect for law enforcement, the lack of respect for authority, I think we're just asking for a more stringent type of law enforcement that we didn't know about 20, 30 years ago. We didn't have SWAT teams and bulletproof vests. So everything is changing, unfortunately not for the better.
Bill, I want to thank you very much for joining us tonight. It's always a great pleasure talking to you, and let's hook up next week, if that works for you.
It works.
All right, buddy. You take care of yourself. And Exonation, Dr. William Schneid has been my guest this hour. www.worldfind.com. And Dr. Schneid is the Director of Special Operations for Apex Strategic Investigations Group, a licensed group, internationally licensed group, I'd like to say, in Los Angeles and Riverside counties. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. And I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news at 6.5 minutes past as the X Zone continues from our studios in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. We'll be right back.